I'm Annette Du Bois. I'm the confidence coach for kids and teens, and I've helped hundreds of thousands of young people over my years to develop greater confidence, belief in themselves, and feel a lot happier. Growing up is tough, and not to mention the studies and exams you then have to concentrate on as well. And it can lower our confidence or your belief in yourself and not make you feel as prepared going into your exams as you could be. So on our journey together, I'm going to teach you how to develop more confidence and belief in yourself so that you can go and do and be your best in your exams. And that's what it's about. It's not about being the best, it's about you doing your best in that particular subject or exam. That's all you can do. So if you can come out of every single exam feeling that self-satisfaction of being able to put in the effort and do your best, that's all you can do. And here's the thing about confidence. It fluctuates. It goes up and down. So there is no one 100% confident 100% of the time. No matter what you see on social media, it goes up and down. So there's going to be some subjects and topics you feel really confident and comfortable with. You're practiced and you're skilled at it. And there's going to be others that lower your confidence. For me, it was maths. I really struggled with maths. In fact, when I was your age, I wanted to be an engineer. I share a birthday with my dad, and I wanted to be just like him when I was younger, and he was an engineer when he worked. So I had to be really strong at maths, and I wasn't, and it lowered my confidence. So I'm here to help boost your confidence, make you feel happier, and to encourage you to do your best. So what is confidence? Well, I believe confidence is the ability to handle any challenge, problem, or situation with a sense of certainty, courage, and clarity. So it's not about the problem or the situation, it's actually how we deal with it. So confidence is not something that we do, it's something that we are. We become confident from experiences and practice and taking action on things, and that's what we're going to learn. So I use a formula called AIR, A-I-R, action, improve, repeat. So we don't get confident by just thinking about being confident. We have to take action on the things in order to become more confident. We also have to improve and keep practicing and improving in it, and also then of course repeating it. It's not about doing something once, it's about repeating it over and over and over again. So here's a quick exercise for you. All I want you to do is clasp your hands together so you can see mine. If you look down at your own thumbs, you'll notice one of your thumbs crosses over the top of the other. So for me, my right is on top, but it might be left for you. So whatever is the comfortable one that it just naturally flows to. Now, keeping your hands as they are, just swap your thumbs. How's that feel? Odd, weird, random, maybe uncomfortable? Yes, it does. So we're going to make that feel a little bit better. Keeping your hands as they are, all I want you to do is swap your thumbs backwards and forwards 21 times. Don't lose count. Okay, and when you've got to 21, go back to your natural way. Now finally, go back to your other way. Feel a little bit more familiar? A little bit easier? It does. It's maybe not quite as natural as your natural way, but certainly a lot better than when you first started, and you can relax your hands. Now, of course, that doesn't mean to say we've got magic thumbs or anything like that, but if you do any texting or gaming, then of course sometimes it feels like our thumbs are on fire. What that really helps us to understand is the power and importance of repeating something. When we are trying something for the first time, it does feel strange or awkward, maybe feels like it doesn't quite work. And at that point, lots of people do tend to give up or get really defeatist. What's the point? But actually, if we keep going with that new thing, we feel more familiar with it and of course more encouraged to keep it going. So I hope you enjoyed that. And what we tend to find is through the action, improve, repeat, it creates competence in that. So we become more skilled in that particular subject or topic. And it's really important to remember. So it's not about doing something once, it's about completing it over and over and over again so it feels more familiar. So we're going to learn that part of confidence comes from movement, comes from breathing. Now, of course, there's a lot more to improving your confidence than just breathing and moving a little bit more. I get that. But we want to understand the fundamentals. It's a bit like one of your studies. Take maths, for example. You understand the fundamentals, the foundation of things that then builds on that skill over and over and over again. We want to do that with this. So the very basic things you can do in any situation that starts building your confidence and competence to feel better about things, to feel better equipped. And that's what we're doing. You learn skills in your subjects at school ready for your exams. You're going to learn skills and strategies with me in order to help you through your exams and beyond, I hope, too. So let's think about our breathing. When you are stressed, worried, unsure, maybe even angry, what happens to your breathing? Yeah, it usually gets quicker. Now, at that point, there's a few other things that begin to happen you might not be aware of. Your heart rate starts increasing. You might start feeling warmer or hotter. There's a saying, hot and bothered. You might start feeling your temperature is changing. And at that point, there's generally one of two things that tends to happen in our mind. We either have a really racing mind, like it's crammed and overwhelmed with just so much stuff and studies and things we've got to do, that we get stuck and we don't know what to do for the best. Or we have the complete opposite, which I call brain fog effect, where your mind goes completely blank. Now, you've probably had this one or two times, if not more, in exam or test settings. You start to panic, your breathing increases, you start to get worried about the next question or things like that, and then all of a sudden, everything seems to disappear out your mind. So I'm going to teach you a simple breathing exercise that is going to help to start the process of feeling calmer so you can make better decisions. Because when our mind is racing, then all of a sudden we can't think clearly. When everything is speeded up, we cannot think about the next thing and the next thing. So here's the breathing exercise. Place one hand or both hands on your belly. And I want you to imagine your belly is like a balloon. So your shoulders are going to stay still, your belly does the work, and your belly comes out and back in. So as you breathe in, you push your belly bigger into your hands like the balloon. Breathe out, comes back in. Now that feels probably a little bit different, a bit like the thumbs overlapping, so we're going to try that a few more times. Breathe in, so you push your belly bigger into your hands like the balloon. Breathe out, comes back in. And we'll try that once more. Breathe in, your belly does the work. Breathe out and comes back in. And breathe normally. And just take a moment to notice how you feel. How calm you feel taking your breath all the way down into the belly. And that's partly what happens. We're allowing the most amount of oxygen to go into our belly and out through our body, as well as travel to our mind, which means, or our brain, so that we can think more clearly through a challenge or a situation, not get caught up in it or stressed or so worried we don't know what to do about it. So a bit like the thumbs overlapping, that breathing needs regular practice in order to use it when you most need it. So whether that's studies and revision or actually in exam conditions. So each night as you're settling down to sleep, practice 3 belly breaths, just as we've done. Each morning, and before the craziness of the morning starts, each morning just get up, maybe still in your room, practice 3 belly breaths. And that will help you to have a calmer start to each morning, get better sleep if you struggle with sleep from time to time, but also to remember to use those bigger, deeper breaths when you most need it. Obviously, when you're out in public and at school, you would not place your hands on your belly because that would look most weird. And you may be giving away your secret to other people, but I'm sure you get the idea. So deeper breaths, calms everything down. You're able to then think more clearly about what you need to do, or what you need to do step by step. So now, feeling a bit calmer with the breathing, we're going to understand more about our physiology or our behaviour. So physiology is things like our actions, our posture, our behaviour, our facial expressions. And whenever we start to feel stressed or worried or negative, then our body will react. So our mind, body, emotions are all connected together. Whatever we start thinking and feeling, our body will start reacting to. So if we want to start feeling brighter and more enthusiastic and more positive, actually first of all starts with our physiology, our behaviour. So we're going to learn how to act as if you have more confidence and belief in yourself, to train your mind that actually that's just the way things are. It becomes more of a natural process to be able to do. So let's have a quick example of low or negative body language or physiology. So you've got lots of revision to do. You're starting to worry about the time and how long it's going to take. And all of a sudden you have these worries and concerns and negative thinking, doubts creeping in. And then all of a sudden you'll find probably your shoulders round and you slump. You end up looking down quite a lot. And when you look down, how do you begin to feel? Yeah, low energy, quite negative. Things feel bigger, scarier, or worse than perhaps they really are. It helps us not see things in perspective. We start to maybe catastrophize or think the worst of things, and then it continues. So if you want to start feeling brighter and more positive about things and more confident, we're going to act as if you have more confidence. So all of a sudden you would lift your upper body, whether it's standing or sitting. So you would stand taller, you would sit taller, shoulders down and back. I mean, in a relaxed posture, obviously not like a robot, because again, that would be weird. You would have your head more forward, not up, so looking up towards the sky, because, that's, again, really weird. But if you think about a natural posture, in fact, here's a quick question. Think about someone you think has lots of confidence. So it could be a friend, a family member, maybe even someone on TV, an actor, something like that. If you think about them for a moment, you'll notice that their posture and how they hold themselves, the pace at which they do things, maybe they find it more easy to talk to people. You probably notice I'm quite big with my actions and bodily expressions in that way. I like to be able to move because it makes me feel more energized and energetic. So you think back to that person and how they stand and hold themselves. That's what makes you think they have confidence. And they've probably practiced over time. Usually when we think about adults, they've probably practiced over time. And that's partly what it's about, practicing this. So in your everyday situations, whether that's cleaning teeth, walking up and down your stairs, eating dinner at home, revising, getting ready for your studies and your exams, you're going to do it acting as if you have more confidence, energy and enthusiasm. So think about how you would do that. Put more energy into your everyday actions and activities. If you have a dog, walk the dog acting as if you have more energy and confidence. Walking into school each day, sitting there in your class, whatever it might be, act as if you have more confidence and energy. And then all of a sudden you'll start feeling like you've got more confidence and energy. And then you improve on it. And then you keep repeating it. And then all of a sudden you find that every single day you're feeling more confident and energized and enthusiastic and ready or more ready for your exams. So then let's explore confidence in your studies, your exams and the subjects. Well, if you look at it like this, imagine you are at the beginning of a school year and your maths teacher gave you a maths formula, asked you to solve it or asked you to look at it, and then didn't say anything else until the end of the school year. How would that feel? Would you have even remembered? I probably wouldn't. So it's about repetition. So what I want you to do is get each subject each topic that you've got to revise, and you're going to take action on it, you're going to improve it, and you're going to repeat. And you're going to do that each time, thinking about breathing, physiology, and having the confidence to be able to go through that process in each subject. So let's take English. You've got some English thing to do. You take action on it. So you actually do the thing you know you've got to do. Then you look back and think, how can I improve that? How could I get better at it? What do I need to do different? Questions are so important in understanding how we can improve and get better at something. And then when you feel you've got there, keep repeating it. Go over your notes. Record it on your phone if you need to. Listen to it in the bathroom when you're cleaning your teeth. Whatever you need to do, keep repeating over and over and over, and you'll find that it will build your confidence and your competence in that subject. So now you know a little bit more about confidence. We want to understand some of the factors that build into having more confidence, and one of them is self-belief. Now, it reminds me of a story, an ancient story of an elephant and a twig. But really the basis of this story is that to train elephants in countries like India, Africa and Asia, where they tend to use, or certainly used to use, elephants more for transportation, they would need to make sure that it was trained properly. A bit like training a dog, if you like, but of course a lot bigger beast of an animal. So they used to tie the elephant to a big post or tree. It was a baby elephant they would tie. And of course the elephant would struggle as much as possible, but eventually it got so tired and exhausted it gave up. And what happened is it developed an understanding that it couldn't escape. So the essence of being able to tie a fully grown elephant, no matter how many tons that is, to almost like a twig, and it wouldn't escape. And the reason I use this as an example is because we can often keep ourselves stuck by negative beliefs, by what I call negative labels. So you know when you're doing your studies or a particular subject that you're struggling with, and you might label, I'm rubbish at this, or I'm really bad at that. Mine, I'm sure you might be able to guess by now, was maths. So my negative label was, I'm rubbish at maths. I'm rubbish at maths. How do you think I started to feel? Well, I really started to believe it. I started to have a negative, doubtful mindset. I thought that I was going to let my mum and dad down, that I thought everyone was better than me at maths. They didn't seem to be struggling like I did. I used to think that I was probably going to fail, so I might as well give up. Very defeatist. How do you think I felt? Completely stuck by this negative label. Now, although we might even say, but I was just joking, the thing about our mind is that it can't really tell the difference between joking and reality, so it takes it as real. So I started to really develop the belief that I was rubbish at maths. And even though I got maths tutoring later on before my GCSEs, I'd already fixed my mind and my belief I was rubbish at maths. Now, although we don't, of course, wear labels when we're starting to communicate certain things about how we're feeling about ourselves or our ability, there are other ways. So through our attitude, behaviour and communication, we can actually start convincing other people around us. So for me, whenever I was in maths, I would often say to people, don't ask me for help in maths. I'm really bad at it, I can't help. Or I might blame the teacher, or the homework was too hard, get really whingy and complaining. So other people started to develop I was rubbish at maths and, don't go to me for help and lots of things like that. So of course, if we had to get into teams for a maths quiz, do you think anyone would want me on their team to win? Definitely not. I'm saying don't pick me, I'm a loser, right? Now, negative labels are not true. We end up believing them so much because we end up repeating them. A bit like the thumbs overlapping we did in learning more about confidence and repetition. It's actually the more that we repeat something, the more we end up believing it, even though it's not true. So negative labels we need to get rid of them. Instead, we need to replace them with positive statements. Now, a positive statement has to be real and true. So there's no point me ever saying, oh, I'm awesome at maths, because test results, parents' evening, things like that proved that maths was not my strong subject. Now that's okay. We are going to be stronger and weaker in different areas. That's natural. We just want to make sure that we're not being stuck by those negative labels and false beliefs. So for me at that time, I was really good at English and I loved it. I was really good at sport, and when I wasn't whinging and complaining, I was a good friend. So I could have thought about any of those to be able to push me forward, because quite often those skills and abilities that we do have, we can also transfer some of those into the things that we find more difficult. So in English, I put in effort and I got really energized and enthusiastic about it. Well, I could have started to put some of that enthusiasm into maths, even though I found it difficult. I could have started to have a better attitude about listening to the people that gave me help and gave me their time to help me forward. There's lots of things we can do to develop better self-belief, belief in our ability to be able to do our best. Remember, it's not about being the best, it's about doing our best in all things. So here's what I want you to do, to really understand the effect of what you say about yourself or your ability. Get some trusty sticky notes and write whatever you say. I'm rubbish, I'm bad, I'm trash, whatever it might be in the particular subject. And then stick it on you. Look in the mirror and then notice, think, wow, what am I saying about myself? How is that affecting your belief in your ability to do your best and get better and do all you can, put in that effort? And then rip it off, get rid of it, positive statements instead. Things that will help to encourage and push you forward, even though you might find some of these subjects or the motivation to get into the revision and the studies a little bit difficult to start with. I get it. You know, we've got to be realistic with how we feel at times. And speaking about motivation, it reminds me that I know about motivation, that it's difficult to get started with something. And that's sometimes where people get motivation a bit confused. They think that we have motivation and we've just got to get on with it. But here's the secret. We don't have motivation, we generate motivation from the actions that we take. It's a bit like, imagine this for a moment. A wind turbine or a windmill. Now, a wind turbine or windmill doesn't have energy. It generates energy from the source of the wind, and then of course the mechanics to supply us with the source of energy. So that doesn't have energy, it generates energy. We don't have motivation, we generate motivation by the actions that we take. So here's a quick example, completely away from studies for a moment. So have a think back to your room for a moment. Now, you might be the tidiest person ever, but there's going to be times where our room is a little bit messy. And say, for example, your parent walks past your room and says, you've got to clear up your room, it's a complete mess. And you look at the whole room and you think, oh, that is going to take forever and I don't want to do it, and you get quite resistant to it. But here's the thing. Stand at your bedroom door looking in, and whatever you come to first, you're going to take action on. Whether it's clothes that need tidying up or putting in the dirty washing basket, whether that's cups and plates that are sneaking under your bed if your bed allows it. You would put your cups and plates outside your room. Don't go out your room, outside your room until you can go downstairs or take them wherever they need to go. You would then keep moving around your room, tidying, clearing, and say, for example, it takes about 20 minutes or so. A lot better than when you first thought of doing your room. And that's what motivation is. It was that one thing that you started that was like the catalyst to keep going. We as adults have it. There are times where we don't want to do something, or we don't want to get motivated to do something. And then all of a sudden we start with one thing, and then suddenly we think, oh, might as well keep going now. That's generally what motivation is. So let's go back to your studies. You've got a ton of revision, maybe even homework on top. There's something good on Netflix or gaming, whatever your thing is, and you really don't want to be getting down to your work. So first of all, you get started with one thing, which is going to be the catalyst to keep everything else going. So you focus on one subject, and I would suggest a subject that is relatively easy or pleasant. We don't want to start with the hardest first because you have to get more motivation to get started. So you're going to choose one of the easiest subjects or things that you kind of enjoy about one of the subjects. You're going to get everything that you need around, so whether that's pens, stationery, maybe your device, notes, books, whatever it might be. That's your starting point. You've got everything prepared, now you're ready to get going. And you do. And you focus and concentrate, and you find that you actually get more done by starting, taking action, and then the momentum that keeps it going. Then you finish that. And you find, right, I might as well keep going. So then maybe you choose a slightly more difficult subject to do, or something you know that you've been putting off and procrastinating about. Get on with it. How does it feel at the end of it? And then finally, at the end, have something really rewarding to be able to look forward to. So whether that is chilling out, watching something on Netflix, or maybe doing something with your parents, or if you've got a pet, something to solidify, to really recognise that hard work well done. And then you've created a system. Each time you come down to a revision or your studies, you get everything prepared, get everything out that you need. That one action, that's the catalyst. Then you get going, and then you do the next thing, and it creates a confident system. So you're not putting off the things you know you need to do, you're actually getting on with it. You're being more time efficient, you're prioritising, and then weirdly, you have way more time at the end to be able to do the things you want to do, relax, enjoy times with friend or family. So then what you find, confidence, physiology, starting to be calmer, getting on and doing things, and all of a sudden believing in your ability to do your best, to get on with your studies, and to feel good because of it. Let's talk about mindset. Now, our mind is incredibly powerful, but quite often we end up focusing on the things that we don't want, the things we can't do, the things that aren't right. And our mind is a bit like a magnet. The more we start focusing in that way and start thinking in that way, the more it feels like we're pulling those kind of experiences or situations towards us. Here's an example. Have you ever felt like you've had a bad day? Yeah, most of us have, I think, to some extent. So let's describe a typical school day that could feel like it's going wrong. Well, maybe first of all you wake up late with the grumps. You don't really want to be going to school. You realise quite quickly you've got one of those days with all the lessons you're not necessarily looking forward to. You get to school and then something happens, or the teacher keeps picking on you and asking you questions, and then maybe you have a bit of a falling out with your friend, and then you get home and you've got loads of homework, and so it goes on. Sound familiar? Yeah, it's a typical day that most of us have been through or go through from time to time. Now, at some point during that day, we might have said, what else can go wrong? Or today is turning out to be a bad day. Now, our mind is always listening. So it starts searching for those things that we think and that we tell ourselves to validate and confirm it's a bad day, something else is going wrong. So we have to be really careful about what we think and what we say to ourselves. Because we all have what's called an inner self-talk. You know, that little voice inside your head? Well, quite often that's quite negative and doubtful and unhelpful and discouraging. Do you think that puts you in the right mindset and the right effort to be able to do your best in your exams, your studies, and anything else? No, it doesn't. So we want to learn how to start shifting our mindset, how to be more helpful and encouraging and supportive to ourselves, to push ourselves forward even though we find things difficult. So how many times have you had this, what I call stinking thinking? all those doubts and negativities. I can't, I'll never be able to do it. This is going wrong. Everything is hard. Yeah, it happens. And how do you think then our attitude and our behaviour and our effort gets put into our studies? We give up easily. We start getting defeatist, or what's the point? I'm not going to do very well anyway. And it all creates a very negative and stuck mindset. So we want to be able to change that. We want to be able to focus on the things we can do, to focus on the things we are able to get better at, to put in more effort, have more enthusiasm about things, even though we still find things difficult. So let's turn stinking thinking into strong thinking. Now, I know, it sounds a little bit playful, but why not? Sometimes life feels a little bit heavy at times, so it's good to lighten things up. And really, if we think about our mind as a strong muscle, of course we want to make it stronger with how we think, not making it weaker by those doubts and that negative, stinking thinking. So let's explore how you can change your thinking from that real stinking, horrible mess to something more encouraging and strong. So imagine one of your subjects you're finding quite difficult. You're going through your studies, revision, homework, and you're still finding it tough. And so your stinking thinking might be, I'm never going to be able to get this. Everyone's better than me. What's wrong with me? Everyone seems to get it. I can't. I'm probably not going to do very well. I'm probably going to fail. Might as well give up. Oh my goodness, stinking thinking. That is really rotten. Now let's think to how that would translate into you putting effort into that subject or those studies. Do you think you would do your best? Do you think you'd be committed, enthusiastic, energized? Definitely not. So you would give up easily, do a half-hearted approach, which validates your original stinking thinking, probably not going to do very well, everyone's better than you. So we want to be able to change that. Let's get kinder and more supportive to ourselves by the way that we think. Now, it was Albert Einstein that said, for things to change, thinking must change. And he did pretty well in life. So for things to change, thinking must change. So if you want to change something, first of all, start with how you think, what you're saying to yourself. So let's get stronger. Okay, going back to that example of your studies. What can you do? What do you get? Quite often we can be over-exaggerated in our thinking about a particular situation we're in, and it becomes a permanent thing. We see it bigger, scarier, or worse than it really needs to be. So see it practically. Is it everything in that subject or studies, or is it just a few things, or even just one thing? One thing can feel really bad if we allow it and our thinking. Going back to that bad day, I was speaking to a teenager not long ago who was using this kind of thing, and they said that they were having a bad day because they burnt their toast first thing in the morning, and it then almost translated to having a bad day because that one thing started first thing in the morning. Now, we've all kind of burnt toast or dropped, breakfast on the floor or things like that. And it does feel at that moment we're going to have a bad day if we allow our mind to run away with us. So, stinking thinking into strong thinking. What can you do? What do you get? What questions can you ask? What extra effort can you put in? But also, here's another way of thinking about it. Why? Why do you want to do well in your studies? Why do you want to get better at that subject? It's really important to be able to understand the outcome or the result you're looking for. There's a saying, begin with the end in mind. I know it sounds a bit strange, begin with the end in mind. But what this really helps us to understand is that we have like a goal or an outcome, a result that we want. And then you're able to rewind all the way back to say, I need to put in this effort, I need to learn more here, I need to ask more questions, I need to practice, I need to have a stronger mindset all of a sudden to be able to achieve this result, or certainly achieve your best that you can. And again, that's all you can do. Do your best. So you've rewound, you've realised the steps you need to take one bit at a time to be able to achieve what you're looking for, your outcome. That's your why. So if you're struggling with a subject, well, is it a subject that's going to be really important to you in what you want to go into eventually, a career or job prospect? Is it just wanting the self-satisfaction to know that it was so hard and you put in the effort and you put in the work and you got the best result you could? Whatever it is, find your why, and that will strengthen your mindset. It will change your thinking. It's almost like that determination to get to that point, no matter what it takes. Putting in that extra effort, that extra time to be able to achieve it. So let's look how we can change the stinking thinking into strong thinking in a practical way. And I call it UHC. UHC. So we're going to go through uncertain to hopeful to certain. And you'll see and understand how you can use this in your studies or your sports performance or anything in life. UHC. So thinking about an example, say it might be revision, studies, or maybe something else you're having a challenge with or that you want to get better at. Now think about it with uncertainty. Think about achieving it with uncertainty. Well, when we're uncertain, we become doubtful and negative and defeatist and discouraged. I can't do this, I'll never be able to do it. That real stinking thinking starts to creep in. Thinking about our physiology, well, you wouldn't be in a strong physiology and body language and actions. You'd probably be all slumped and a very negative, low body language. So altogether, feeling pretty doomed. And do you think you'll achieve your best with uncertainty? No. Likely give up or not even give it a go to start with. That's why I say doomed. It kind of feels like it's a big thing. Now that same situation or challenge that you want to overcome and get better at, now this time with hopefulness. Well, when we're hopeful, we have more enthusiasm and energy, and we think we possibly could or maybe get better. We use those kind of language and descriptions. We have the determination to some extent to want to do it, but we don't necessarily do. Because here's the thing with hopefulness. We have that enthusiasm, but we tend to hold a little bit of uncertainty or doubt back just in case it doesn't go the way that we want it. And then all of a sudden we come out with phrases like, I knew it wasn't going to work out. I knew I couldn't do it. Sound familiar? Yeah. So hopefulness is better because it's a little bit more pushing towards the right direction, but it still holds us back in that kind of negative, stinking mindset. Now, this time, that same situation, challenge that you want to overcome or get better at, now this time with certainty. Absolute certainty. Well, you suddenly get really determined. You get like this laser focus that happens. All your concentration is into that particular thing to achieve or get better at. You have, yes, I can, really positive mindset. You become what's called more resourceful. You're not fazed by a challenge or a problem or a setback. You have this real clear goal of absolute certainty. Think back to one of the last times you got really determined about something or to buy something, achieve it, and you did it. What happens is mind, body, emotions all align together to be able to achieve that one goal. It's your big why that you know all the steps you need to do in order to get there. So now imagine approaching every single subject, piece of revision, homework, jobs around the house, whatever it might be, with certainty. How would it feel? What could you achieve with more certainty in your studies and in your life? So remember, for things to change, thinking must change. How are you going to start changing your thinking from stinking to strong to more certain to be able to achieve your best in your studies, your exams, and in life? Exam stress. I know. I'm sure you're experiencing the mounting pressure and overwhelm and stress that comes with exam preparation. But here's the thing about stress and pressure, which most people don't realise. Most people think it's a big demon or monster to avoid and completely not have at all. But small amounts of stress and pressure is a good thing. It can help you. So you want to make it your friend in exam conditions. And here's why. It helps your mind and body prepare for that situation or event, which means that you're more focused, you concentrate better, you're sharper, you're more aware of things like time, not paranoid about it, but more aware of time so you can get on and really focus in on the job at hand. It also gives you a lot more energy. You have that surge of energy that you need to keep you going through adrenaline. So small amounts of stress and pressure is actually a good thing to use to your advantage. But when that stress and pressure starts mounting up, that's where it becomes a problem. So imagine that you were thinking about climbing a mountain. I'm sure you're not anytime soon, but if you were thinking about climbing a mountain, you would need certain equipment and resources to keep you going and keep you safe and allow you to achieve that goal of climbing that mountain. So we might think about equipment or food, hydration, water, different clothing, the right kind of walking shoes or boots in order to support our feet and our ankles. All those kind of things you would need. You might need a tent depending on if you were staying overnight. Now, would you consider climbing the mountain all at once, so right from the bottom all the way to the top? Or would you climb it stage by stage? Yeah, most people, depending on the mountain, would climb it stage by stage. And that's what we want to see revision and preparations for exams and tests as being. Almost like that mountain. We know we need to get to the top to achieve the end result, but it's actually how we get there. And the reason I use an example of a mountain is because when it comes to your revision and your exams, it feels like a massive mountain to conquer. It feels like you're never going to get there, or it's just too much to think about all at once. And it is. The more we have to think about, the more we're either going to forget or just feel overwhelmed and almost feel like giving up. We can't necessarily cope. So your revision mountain, thinking back to some of the tools that we've done, the 10% rule, the bit by bit, that's partly what this is about, to manage the stress and the potential overwhelm before it gets too much. Remembering small amounts of that stress and pressure is a good thing. It will help you stay focused and to absorb the information and be able to retain it so that you can recall it when you need it in those exam conditions. So let's think about your revision and your exam preparations as climbing a mountain, stage by stage. First of all, thinking about each subject and only one subject at a time. Breaking that subject then down into the tasks or the revision that you've got to do in good time. Making sure you're staying calm and focused in order to retain the information and also have the belief in yourself, you know that you can recall it at the time that you need it. So subjects, break them down. The tasks that you have to do within each subject. Then have a break. Then come to the next subject. The tasks you've got to do within that. The notes that you've got to make. The practice you've got to do. Whatever it might be. And then all of a sudden you realise that your mountain is reducing and you're taking those practical action steps to be able to achieve the goal, feel more reassured and believe in yourself. You are better equipped So just as we climb a mountain with the equipment and resources we need, you're going to be climbing the revision mountain with the resources that you need in order to achieve the outcome of completing your exams with the self-satisfaction and the pride that you've done your best. But there's also going to be times within your exams where you start noticing your mind is becoming more stressed. You might be panicking about the time. You might be suddenly glancing around and seeing everyone's working away and you're not. You got stuck on a few questions. Your belief in yourself is starting to turn around. Your mindset is starting to get negative. So we need a simple way in your exams in order to be able to deal with that. So we're going to go on a mind holiday. I know, it sounds a bit strange, but even within exam conditions, this is something that you can do in order to relax your mind. So when our brain is stressed, it kind of locks up. It's a bit like a padlock, if you like. It locks up and uses it just for the pure functions of survival, if you like. There is an ancient part of our brain called the amygdala, which is all about keeping us safe, away from fear or insecurities. And that is part of what also can help us in exam conditions, to realise that we need to let go of the fear or the panic, and here's how you can do it. So imagine you're sitting in your exam, you've come to a few really tricky questions or ones that you feel you haven't revised as much about, and you find that your mind is starting to get turbulent or stressed. You'll find that your breathing is quickening, your heart rate's increasing, you start noticing those negative niggly doubts that start coming in, and at that moment you're going to imagine like you're pressing pause in your head. Now, just as you are watching Netflix or something on YouTube and you press pause, the screen would freeze. And at this point, we want your mind just to pause and freeze for a moment. Then take some deeper belly breaths. Calm everything down, settle your turbulent mind. And then all of a sudden, you can make a different choice. So you start to calm everything down, your mind starts to relax, it starts to open out and is able to either recall or retrieve the information that you've so hardly revised about, and then it's easier to be able to move on. But the mind holiday is giving your mind just a break for a few nanoseconds. So we're not talking about a long time here. We're just talking about a few nanoseconds to calm your mind, to give it something else more pleasant to think about. So you're going to choose a calm thought. Now, a calm thought can be a place, a colour, a word, a food, if you like. Whatever it is that immediately you think about it starts to calm your mind for a little while. So over the years, I've coached young people and young adults on this. Somebody chose a lasagna because they love lasagna and it makes them feel relaxed and comforted. Someone else chose balloons, ice cream, all sorts of different things. You could have your favourite colour, so whether it's blue or purple, and of course a word such as relax or peace or calm, whatever it might be. So you're going to choose that and you're just going to focus on it for a few moments. And what you'll notice is your mind starts to relax, your body starts to calm, and at that point you're able to go back to the question, reread it with fresh eyes, a calm mind, and you'll be able to retrieve the information that you revised, or at least give it the best option and the best that you can. So go on a mind holiday, a calm thought, a place, a colour, a word, or even a food, and you'll notice that your mind just relaxes just that little bit in order to choose the best answer or to choose the best option for whatever it is that you're going through. So as you've learned, stress can be a good thing, but whenever it turns into something bigger than we're able to manage, that's where the problems come in. So manage your stress better, go on regular mind holidays if you need to, and have something maybe of your favourite colour if you can, taking it into an exam. So it might be a red pencil, or a purple eraser, whatever it might be, that actually you can focus your mind on if you need to, for a little bit of extra help.